Lawyer charges $1 per case. The story that made millions cry. What would you do if someone charged you just $1 to save your life? Meet Chun Ji-hoon. He's a lawyer who charges exactly 1,001 for any case. Less than $1. Most people think he's crazy. His office is a disaster zone. His clothes are always wrinkled. He plays games instead of working. He cooks noodles at crime scenes. And he charges less than a cup of coffee for his services. But the criminals he puts behind bars? They know better. This is the story of a lawyer who doesn't look like much. And what he does in court will leave you absolutely speechless. Part 1. The Dollar Lawyer. It starts with a man named Yok-sung. He's drowning in debt. After borrowing money from a ruthless loan shark named Fire Bear, his financial situation spirals completely out of control. Interest compounds daily. Threats escalate weekly. His family suffers. And Yok-sung feels like he's nothing but a burden on everyone he loves. One day, standing on the edge of a bridge, he's seconds away from ending his life forever. People scream at him to come back. Strangers cry. Police try to talk him down. But Yok-sung has already given up. In his eyes there's no future left. No way out. No hope. Then a stranger appears on that bridge. His name is Chun Ji-hoon. At first Yok-sung thinks he's a debt collector. Another person coming to collect what little he has left. Another person telling him he's worthless. Another person making him feel worse than he already does. But Ji-hoon calmly reveals something unexpected. He's a lawyer. The same lawyer Yok-sung had called days earlier, completely by accident, while hiding from debt collectors inside a dirty public restroom. A ridiculous advertisement was stuck to the wall. It read, "Legal services. Any case. Only 1,001. No one believed it was real. Who would work as a lawyer for less than $1? But out of pure desperation, Yok-sung made the call. And now on that bridge, Ji-hoon is there to tell him, "Come down. We're going to fix this. Together." Yok-sung comes down from that bridge. He doesn't know how, but somehow this strange man has given him hope. Meanwhile, at the prosecutor's office, a rookie named Baek Ma-ri is assigned to investigate Fire Bear. Honest and passionate, Ma-ri pursues justice with everything she has. But her lack of experience means she often misses things others would catch. She sees the world in black and white, guilty or innocent, right or wrong, nothing in between. Soon, her superior assigns her a new investigation. Fire Bear, the notorious loan shark. It's her chance to prove herself. Ma-ri heads to Fire Bear's office with her team, ready to make an arrest, ready to put this criminal behind bars. What she finds inside is chaos. Two men are casually cooking noodles in the middle of the empty crime scene. One of them barely looks up as she storms in. He's completely unfazed. He's eating. He's not moving. And he's about to ruin her entire case. Ma-ri accuses the men of being criminals, of destroying evidence, of interfering with an investigation. But the stranger, Ji-hoon, remains completely focused on his noodles. The misunderstanding escalates until Ma-ri accidentally knocks over his entire bowl of noodles. Ramen spills everywhere. Ji-hoon finally looks up. Only then does she realize these men aren't suspects at all. They're just eating. Then Fire Bear walks through the door. The moment he sees Ji-hoon, he freezes. His face goes completely pale. His body language changes instantly. The confidence he had moments ago vanishes. Fire Bear is terrified of this stranger eating noodles on his crime scene. To Ma-ri's shock, Fire Bear addresses Ji-hoon with a title that changes everything. Prosecutor. Chun Ji-hoon used to be a prosecutor. And years ago, he personally put Fire Bear behind bars. That encounter left a permanent scar on Fire Bear's memory. The kind of fear that never really goes away no matter how many years pass. Fire Bear is terrified. Ji-hoon uses that fear masterfully. He warns Fire Bear that Prosecutor Ma-ri is ready to destroy him. The punishment will be severe. Fire Bear panics. He begs Ji-hoon to defend him. This is exactly what Ji-hoon wanted. After Fire Bear agrees to hire him, Ji-hoon asks Ma-ri to show the arrest warrant. He acts like he's reading it for the first time. Even though he's clearly studied every single detail already, he takes his time. He looks thoughtful. He examines every word. Then he checks the time. The warrant only allows arrests during daytime hours. But it's already past 7 in the evening. Because of one tiny time detail, Ma-ri can no longer arrest Fire Bear tonight. She cannot seize anything. She cannot do anything at all. She's furious. She argues. She threatens. But the law is the law, and Ji-hoon knows it better than anyone. After Ma-ri leaves frustrated and angry, Fire Bear turns to Yok-sung. He demands 100 million won. Yok-sung remembers borrowing only 30 million. The inflated number crushes him completely. He's trapped. There's no way out. Again. Then Ji-hoon steps in. He says the calculation is wrong. He decides to count the money himself. Firebear grins as Ji-hoon's count reaches 100 million plus 30,000 won. He thinks he's won. He thinks Ji-hoon has made a mistake. He thinks the strange lawyer has finally overplayed his hand. But Ji-hoon wasn't calculating Yeok-sung's debt. He was calculating his own legal fee for defending Firebear. Every single charge. The down payment. The legal defense. The prosecutor consultation fee. The processing fee. Court costs. Investigation expenses. And even the noodles Ma-ri ruined earlier. Total. Almost exactly what Firebear tried to steal from Yeok-sung. Firebear explodes in rage. He shouts. He threatens. He demands to know how dare Ji-hoon charge him for his own crimes. But Ji-hoon calmly threatens to call Ma-ri back right now. If Firebear doesn't pay, Ji-hoon will inform the prosecution that Firebear hired a lawyer specifically to delay the case. That looks suspicious. That looks like an admission of guilt. Trapped by his own fear, Firebear has no choice. He pays. Every single one. With that money, Yeok-sung's debt is completely and utterly cleared. He owes nothing. He is free. Before leaving, Yeok-sung offers Ji-hoon more than 1,000 won. Way more. Ji-hoon saved his life. He deserves more. Everyone would understand. But Ji-hoon refuses. For him, 1,000 won is enough. It's always been enough. Then Ji-hoon does something unexpected. He gives the extra money back to Yeok-sung so he can restart his life. Buy what he needs. Take care of his family. Start fresh. Yeok-sung breaks down in tears. A stranger saved his life. A lawyer charged him $1 and gave him back his future. Ji-hoon only asks one thing. Live properly. Never deal with loan sharks again. And take care of the people who love you. That man's life was saved by $1. But Ji-hoon is just getting started. Part 2. The Invisible Hand. Soon Ji-hoon takes on his most important case yet. A janitor named Lee is accused of stealing a drunk man's wallet at a train station. But Lee swears he's innocent. He was only trying to help. The man was falling. Lee reached out to steady him. His hand happened to be near the wallet when he did. But the drunk man didn't see it that way. Neither did the police. The problem? Lee has been arrested 4 times before for similar crimes. Almost no lawyer believes him. His criminal record speaks louder than his words. To everyone, he's a repeat offender. A thief. A liar. Someone who will always be who he was before. His wife visits Ji-hoon's office. She begs for help. She explains everything. Almost no lawyer will take the case because of Lee's past. But she has nowhere else to turn. But Lee has something else. A daughter named So-mi. She's only 7 years old. She's hospitalized with severe heart failure. The medical bills are mounting. The family is drowning. So-mi believes her father is away working at sea, saving money for her treatment. She has no idea he's in prison. She has no idea why he hasn't visited. When Ji-hoon visits her in the hospital, So-mi doesn't cry. She doesn't complain. She doesn't ask why daddy hasn't come. She just looks at this strange man with kind eyes and makes a simple request. Please bring my daddy home for my birthday. Ji-hoon promises he will. Outside the room, Lee's wife explains something devastating. To prove he would never steal again, Lee intentionally injured his own hand in front of her. A cut. A scar. A physical symbol of his promise. A promise to become a better father. A promise to never return to his old life. And still, despite everything, nobody believed him. Moo-jang, Ji-hoon's loyal but perpetually broke assistant, is frustrated beyond belief. Their office barely makes enough to pay rent. They haven't paid their landlord in months. They're hiding from the building owner every single day. How does a law firm survive charging 1,000 won per case? How does anyone? Ji-hoon just smiles and says something that sounds almost too simple. Life becomes happier when you learn to live simply. Ji-hoon accepts Lee's case. His fee 1,000 won. His only request to Lee: become a good father when you get home. Really commit to being there for your daughter. That's all he asks. Then Ji-hoon does something revealing. He goes to the train station and performs a little experiment. He pretends to take a drunk man's wallet, just like Lee allegedly did. Unsurprisingly, people immediately accuse him. They shout. They point. They demand answers. They grab his arm. They're ready to call the police. But the moment they learn he's a lawyer, everything changes. The same act that branded Lee a thief is suddenly dismissed as a simple misunderstanding. No one cares anymore. No one accuses him further. Being a lawyer means being trusted automatically. That moment reveals something powerful. People don't judge actions equally. They judge based on status. A respected lawyer gets the benefit of the doubt automatically, without question. A janitor with a criminal record? Guilty until proven innocent. Always. At trial, prosecutor Ma-ri presents Lee's history with precision. For arrests, probation violations, a pattern of theft stretching back years. To everyone watching, the verdict seems predetermined. Lee is a repeat offender, a career criminal. Case closed before it even begins. Ji-hoon cross-examines the drunk witness. He asks a simple question. How much did you drink that night? The man says 2 glasses of beer. That's all. I was completely sober. Ji-hoon smiles. Then he plays CCTV footage from the restaurant where the witness spent hours drinking earlier that evening. The footage tells a completely different story. The man consumed far more alcohol than he admitted. Far more. He was falling down drunk. His memory cannot be trusted. Not even slightly. Ji-hoon stands before the court and delivers a powerful statement. A person's future should never be destroyed based solely on the unreliable testimony of an intoxicated man who can't even remember how much he drank. The courtroom falls silent. For the first time, genuine doubt emerges in the minds of the jurors. The witness grows angry. He argues that Lee's criminal record alone proves he's guilty. A thief is always a thief. That's who he is. That's who he will always be. He mocks Lee's background and social status in front of everyone. He calls him names. He disrespects him. He treats him like dirt. The judge stops him, but the damage is done. Society has already decided Lee's fate. Ma-ri presents more evidence. Lee's past. His financial struggles. His daughter's mounting hospital bills that he cannot possibly pay. Everything creates a picture that seems impossible to escape. A man with every reason to steal. A man whose circumstances paint him as guilty before any evidence is even presented. Then Ji-hoon makes his move. He asks Lee about his past crimes. Where did he usually steal? What kinds of places? Wealthy areas. Hotels. Malls. Banks. 5-star restaurants. Expensive boutiques. And most importantly, he was never caught. Not once. Not ever. His skills were so remarkable that people gave him a nickname. They called him the Invisible Hand. A thief so good he could steal your wallet while you were looking directly at him, and you'd never notice until hours later. Ji-hoon turns to the court. If Lee truly wanted to steal, why would an expert thief with an unbroken record choose a crowded train station and get caught by a drunk man? It makes no sense. It defies everything about who Lee is and what he's capable of. It's like asking a professional athlete to lose to an amateur. Ma-ri argues that Lee's injured hand made him clumsy that night. Perhaps he was forced to use his non-dominant hand, reducing his skill level significantly. So Ji-hoon asks the most critical question of the entire trial. Why is Lee's hand injured? Lee hesitates. He looks down. Memories of his daughter fill his eyes with tears. Then he reveals the truth. To prove he would never steal again, he intentionally injured his own hand in front of his wife. A physical wound. A scar. A symbol. A promise carved into his own flesh. A promise to become a better father. A promise to never return to his old life. A promise that cost him pain because he believed pain was the only proof anyone would ever believe. And despite everything, despite the scars on his hands and the tears in his eyes and his daughter's hospital bed and his wife's desperate prayers, no one believed him. Ma-ri refuses to back down. She argues that emotions cannot replace evidence. Sad stories don't prove innocence. Sympathy isn't the same as truth. The judge agrees. Lee's past, his struggles and his record paint a picture that seems impossible to overcome. The pressure becomes too much. Lee finally snaps. Since the beginning of this trial, people have looked down on him, mocked him, treated him as guilty from the very first second. No matter what he says, no one truly listens. No matter how hard he tries to change, everyone only sees who he used to be. If no one trusts him, what's the point of any of this? The jury trial has become meaningless. Justice is just a word. His emotions nearly get him removed from the courtroom. He's barely holding himself together. But Ji-hoon steps in immediately. He reminds Lee of his promise to his daughter. 3 words that broke Ji-hoon's heart when he heard them from that hospital bed. Bring my daddy home for my birthday. Those words are enough. Lee calms down. He takes a breath. He composes himself. For Somi's sake, he must endure. He must keep fighting. He must prove himself not just to the court but to himself. Then Ji-hoon requests one final demonstration. Something that will change everything. Something that will prove once and for all the truth. He asks the drunk witness to stand up, close his eyes, and recreate exactly what happened that night at the train station. Show us step by step how it went. Show us exactly what you saw. Everyone watches in complete silence. Without the witness noticing anything, Lee silently removes the man's wallet from his pocket. Smooth, effortless, invisible, like a ghost, like someone who has done this 1,000 times before and could do it 1,000 more. The witness opens his eyes, completely unaware that his wallet is gone. He stands there with his arms out, still posing, still recreating the scene, and he has no idea that a skilled thief just pickpocketed him right there in the courtroom. The courtroom erupts in whispers, gasps, then total silence. Ji-hoon stands before everyone and delivers the final truth. If Lee had truly intended to steal that night, an expert like him could have done it completely undetected. A master thief doesn't get caught by a drunk man. Not in 1,000 attempts. Not in 1,000,000. The fact that the witness noticed Lee that night proves only one thing. Lee wasn't stealing. He was helping. If a sober man couldn't detect Lee's skill in this very courtroom, with everyone watching, how could a heavily intoxicated man have possibly caught him that night? Ji-hoon's final words echo through the courtroom like thunder. The foundation of criminal law is simple. When doubt exists, the benefit of that doubt must go to the defendant. It is better for 10 guilty people to go free than for one innocent person to be punished unfairly. We do not punish people because they look guilty. We do not convict people because their lives are hard. We do not decide someone's fate based on who they used to be. We judge actions. We demand evidence. We protect the innocent. Silence. Total, absolute silence fills the courtroom. The jury deliberates. The tension is unbearable. Lee's wife grips her hands together. Mujang paces back and forth. Even prosecutor Ma-ri seems uncertain. The verdict is announced. Not guilty. Lee collapses to his knees. He can't breathe. He can't speak. He can't do anything but cry. For the first time in years, someone believed in him. Someone gave him a chance. Someone looked past his past and saw who he really was. He thanks Ji-hoon and the jury with all his heart. But there's no time to celebrate. Right at that moment, Ji-hoon receives word. Somi has collapsed. She's being rushed into emergency surgery. The condition that has plagued her whole life has reached a critical point. Time is running out. Ji-hoon tells Lee to run. Run to your daughter. Right now. Don't wait for anything. Don't sign anything. Just go. As Lee sprints out of the courthouse, prosecutor Ma-ri confronts Ji-hoon. She feels defeated. She feels like he's been 10 steps ahead of her from the very beginning. She feels like she wasted everyone's time prosecuting an innocent man. But Ji-hoon has one final gift. If the prosecution doesn't appeal, Lee can sue the government for wrongful arrest. The compensation he receives will be slightly more than Somi's hospital bill. Everything fits together perfectly. Ma-ri stands in complete silence. For the first time, she admits he was right. The evidence was never there. She got caught up in assumptions, in prejudice, in the easy story instead of the true one. She withdraws the appeal. That night, Ji-hoon sits alone in his messy office. He looks at the 1,001 he earned from Lee's case. He places it carefully in a jar where he keeps all his fees. His expression changes. Something painful crosses his mind. Something from his past. Behind the cheerful smile and the strange habits and the ridiculous price tag, there's a story, a reason, a past that explains everything about why the most talented lawyer in the country charges only $1 for his services. But that's a story for another time. Part 3: The Intern. After Lee's case came to an end, life slowly returned to normal. At the prosecutor's office, Baek Ma-ri's internship was nearing its conclusion. She had learned so much, grown so much, but her journey wasn't over yet. She packed her belongings and prepared to move forward with the next stage of her career. Ready to join her grandfather's prestigious law firm. Ready to make a name for herself. Ready to prove that she belonged among the best. Before she left, Prosecutor Ye-jin handed her the file of the appeal she had ultimately chosen not to pursue. The dismissed appeal. The abandoned case. To Ye-jin, that file represented something important. It was proof that Ma-ri had been willing to admit her mistake. To admit that she was wrong. To choose truth over pride. She encouraged Ma-ri to keep it as a reminder of the day she learned that justice was not about winning every case. Justice was about pursuing the truth. Even when the truth was hard. Even when it hurt. Even when it meant admitting you were wrong. Ma-ri left the prosecutor's office with new purpose. Sometime later, Ma-ri's mother excitedly prepared for her daughter's new chapter. After gaining valuable experience as a prosecutor, Ma-ri was ready to join her grandfather's prestigious law firm, one of the largest and most respected in all of South Korea. Confident in her abilities, Ma-ri arrived expecting to begin her legal career immediately. She had worked so hard, studied so much, sacrificed so much. She deserved this. Instead, she received only a piece of paper. Written on it was an address. Her grandfather had one final task for her, one last requirement before she could join his firm. Before working at one of the most powerful law firms in the country, she had to complete another 2-month internship at a different law office. Ma-ri accepted the challenge without hesitation. She was determined. She was motivated. She would prove herself in anything they threw at her. However, when she arrived at the address, she was horrified. The office was a disaster. Messy, dirty, cramped. Papers everywhere. Files scattered across the floor. It looked nothing like a professional law firm. It looked like a storage room for chaos. Even worse, she found familiar faces inside. Ji-hoon and Moo-jang were hiding behind furniture. They were hiding from the building owner because they hadn't paid rent again. For months. They owed thousands of dollars they didn't have. The moment Ma-ri saw them, she panicked. This couldn't be happening. This was a mistake. She was supposed to be interning at a real law firm, not whatever this was. Embarrassed, she pretended she had come to the wrong address. She tried to leave immediately. But Ji-hoon had already discovered the truth. He grabbed the document she carried and found her internship application. Ma-ri desperately tried to take it back before he could read it. But Ji-hoon was faster. He had always been faster. The document she grabbed was fake. A decoy. Her real application remained in his hands. Without hesitation, Ji-hoon read it aloud and mocked the photo attached to it. Ma-ri was completely humiliated. After learning that Ma-ri wanted to intern at his office, Ji-hoon intentionally exaggerated how difficult it was to work there. The pay was terrible. The conditions were worse. The hours were insane. He described every horrible thing he could think of. Frustrated and angry, Ma-ri decided to leave immediately. This was beneath her. She had worked too hard to end up here. But then she went to her grandfather and protested the assignment. Why send her to work under such a strange man? What could she possibly learn from someone who charged $1 per case? Her grandfather calmly explained his reasoning. Ji-hoon did not even know she was coming. Her grandfather had chosen Ji-hoon specifically because he believed no other lawyer could teach Ma-ri what she still lacked. He had witnessed Ji-hoon's brilliance during Lee's trial. The way he thought, the way he fought, the way he never gave up on the truth, no matter how difficult the path. According to him, even if Ji-hoon had remained a prosecutor, Ma-ri would still have lost to him. Not because he was smarter, not because he had more resources, but because he understood something fundamental about justice that she had not yet learned. Meanwhile, another person had returned to South Korea. His name was Min-hyuk. He was welcomed home by his father, Young-jun, who also happened to be the assistant of Ma-ri's grandfather, an influential man in legal circles. But Min-hyuk had not returned for work. He had returned for Ma-ri. In fact, he already carried an expensive engagement ring with plans to propose to her. The ring cost nearly as much as a car. It was extravagant. It was ambitious. It was everything Min-hyuk represented. Yet, Min-hyuk believed that someone like Ma-ri deserved nothing less. A woman of her caliber, her intelligence, her beauty, her ambition. Deep down, he also saw another opportunity. If he married Ma-ri, he could eventually gain influence over her grandfather's law firm. A powerful connection. A strategic alliance. A marriage of ambition and power. But for now, he just wanted Ma-ri. And he was willing to do whatever it took to get her. Back at Ji-hoon's office, Ma-ri found herself unable to stop thinking about her grandfather's challenge. Should she really work there? Could she really learn from someone so different from everyone she had ever known? The next morning, Ji-hoon arrived at the office in frozen surprise. The place was spotless. Everything had been cleaned and organized. Files were sorted. Papers were stacked. The floor was mopped. The windows were washed. It looked like an actual professional office for the first time in years. Ma-ri had done it all herself. Overnight. She wanted to prove she was serious about becoming an intern. She wanted to prove she was committed. Ji-hoon immediately realized that their relationship had shifted. Now for once he held the upper hand. And naturally, he wasted no time teasing her, criticizing her, making her question every decision she had made. Just as their usual chaos resumed, the building owner suddenly appeared. Terrified, Ji-hoon and Moo-jang instantly disappeared into hiding. Behind the couch, under the desk, anywhere they could fit. Ma-ri was confused until she noticed Ji-hoon hiding behind a curtain like a child caught stealing cookies. Finally seeing an opportunity for revenge, she deliberately exposed his hiding spot. She pointed. She laughed. She showed the building owner exactly where he was. Ji-hoon was caught immediately. He had no escape. He had to face the music. Surprisingly, the building owner was not there to collect rent. Instead, she wanted legal advice about gambling games she played with her friends. The problem was that no law clearly regulated the game she was asking about. Gray areas everywhere. To save himself, Ji-hoon confidently invented explanations on the spot. He made up rules. He created regulations. He spoke with complete authority about things he had never studied. Ma-ri quickly joined in and supported his claims. Together, they somehow managed to satisfy the old woman. She left happy. The rent crisis was averted. Again, even after receiving her help, Ji-hoon still refused to officially accept Ma-ri as an intern. He teased her. He challenged her. He made her earn every single moment of this opportunity. For Baek Ma-ri, her real challenge had only just begun. Part 4. The security guard. While Ma-ri struggled to earn her place at Ji-hoon's office, a new case quietly emerged. At an apartment complex, an elderly security guard named Mr. Kim was enduring constant abuse from one of the residents. His name was Young Bae, and he was one of the worst kinds of people. Young Bae treated Mr. Kim less like an employee and more like a servant. He ordered him around without respect. He forced him to carry his heavy groceries up 12 flights of stairs. He blamed him for a scratch on his expensive car that he himself had caused. The harassment grew worse each day. Young Bae publicly humiliated Mr. Kim in front of other residents. He stepped on his foot and laughed. He called him names. He treated him like he was less than human. Watching all of this was Mr. Kim's grandson, Gong-woo. The boy tried to smile in front of his grandfather. He tried to be strong. But seeing someone he loved being treated so cruelly hurt him deeply. He was only a child. But he understood what was happening. He understood that his grandfather was being bullied. And he couldn't do anything about it. Unable to endure it any longer, Gong-woo visited Ji-hoon's office and asked for help. He was so small, so young, so determined. After hearing the story, Ji-hoon, Moo-jang, and Ma-ri accompanied him to the apartment complex. They were going to fight for this elderly man who couldn't fight for himself. As luck would have it, Young Bae arrived at the same time in his luxury car. The kind of car that costs more than most people earn in 5 years. The moment Ji-hoon saw him, he immediately began causing trouble. He criticized Young Bae's reckless parking. He took photos of the car from every angle. He threatened to upload the pictures online and shame him in front of the entire neighborhood. Young Bae grew furious. Who did this strange man think he was? What gave him the right? That was exactly what Ji-hoon wanted. Once Young Bae lost his temper completely, Ji-hoon formally introduced himself as Mr. Kim's lawyer. He announced that he intended to investigate the harassment against his client. He was going to take Young Bae to court. He was going to make him pay. Young Bae could not believe what he was hearing. To him, a security guard daring to sue him was absurd. It was laughable. It was impossible. Even Mr. Kim panicked and begged Ji-hoon to stop before things escalated further. He couldn't afford a lawsuit. He couldn't afford any trouble. He just wanted to do his job and go home to his family. But Gong-woo stepped forward. He admitted that watching his grandfather suffer had been incredibly painful. Every day, every insult, every humiliation, it had been destroying him inside. Only then did Mr. Kim realize that the harassment affected not just him, but the people who loved him most. His grandson was suffering because of him, because he was too proud to fight back. Suddenly, Ji-hoon did something unexpected. He took a marker and colored over the scratch on Young Bae's car. Carefully, deliberately, completely covering the damage. Young Bae immediately protested. What was this man doing? That marker could never fix real damage. That scratch was worth thousands of dollars. Ji-hoon calmly turned to him and asked a simple question. If the scratch was truly caused by Mr. Kim, how exactly had it happened? Where had Mr. Kim been standing? What had he been doing? Young Bae confidently explained the incident. He pointed. He gestured. He demonstrated exactly how it happened. The moment he finished, Ji-hoon acted. He pushed a nearby shopping cart directly toward the car. Everyone gasped. This was going to be a disaster. But something surprising happened. The scratch disappeared. It turned out the mark had never been permanent damage in the first place. Ji-hoon had tested it, proved it, exposed it for what it was, a lie. The entire accusation against Mr. Kim instantly collapsed. Now Young Bae could no longer blame Mr. Kim. He had no case. He had no argument. He was completely exposed. The only possible complaint left was against Ji-hoon himself for hitting the car with a cart. And that was exactly what Ji-hoon wanted. He handed Ma-ri 1001 and officially hired her as his lawyer. This was her test. If she wanted to work at his office, she would have to defend even a troublesome client like him. Ma-ri was speechless. She had studied law seriously for years. She had passed the bar exam. She had worked as a prosecutor. And now she found herself defending the very man who created problems on purpose. And her legal fee was only 1001. Mu-jang remained equally frustrated. He still could not understand why Ji-hoon insisted on charging almost nothing for their services. It made no sense. It was no way to run a business. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon had disappeared again. Instead of working on Young Bae's case, he was visiting prison. There he met a wealthy businessman named Mr. Mo, the CEO of a major corporation, one of the most powerful men in the country. Years ago, Ji-hoon had personally sent him to prison while serving as a prosecutor. Mr. Mo had been responsible for a deadly workplace accident that killed 3 workers. Ji-hoon had put him away for 12 years. Now the two shared a strange relationship. They regularly played bingo together through the prison glass. It was bizarre. It was unexpected. It was so perfectly Ji-hoon. Mr. Mo desperately wanted Ji-hoon to become his lawyer and help secure his release. He offered millions. He offered connections. He offered anything Ji-hoon could possibly want. Ji-hoon refused every time. He told Mr. Mo that he would only consider it after losing a game of bingo. The problem was simple. Ji-hoon never lost at bingo. Not once. Not ever. Each defeat cost Mr. Mo money. And those payments had become Ji-hoon's main source of income. The money covered office rent, living expenses, everything that kept the struggling law office alive. As far as Ji-hoon was concerned, the arrangement was perfect. Everyone got what they needed, as long as he kept winning. But Ji-hoon continued doing what he did best, fighting for the people who couldn't fight for themselves, and teasing Ma-ri at every opportunity. No matter how hard she worked, Ji-hoon always found a way to criticize her methods, her approach, her attitude. It drove her absolutely crazy. That evening, Ma-ri worked tirelessly on Ji-hoon's case. She stayed late at the office trying to find a solution. She researched laws. She studied precedents. She did everything she could, while Ji-hoon casually played games on his phone nearby, completely relaxed, completely unbothered. The contrast drove her crazy. Finally, Ma-ri reached her limit. Overwhelmed by frustration, she decided to quit the internship altogether. This was pointless. She was wasting her time. She grabbed her things and stormed out. Outside the office, Mu-jang stopped her. For the first time, he told Ma-ri about the man behind Ji-hoon's strange behavior. Although Ji-hoon often acted foolish and carefree, his heart was sincere. More importantly, Ji-hoon had never lost a case. Not one. In all his years as a prosecutor and all his years as a lawyer, he had a perfect record. Mu-jang then shared a memory from years ago. During a labor protest, chaos had erupted unexpectedly. Workers and police clashed. Things turned violent. Mu-jang found himself caught in the middle, in serious danger. He was about to be seriously injured, maybe killed. At that moment, Ji-hoon rushed in to protect him. Even after suffering injuries himself, even after getting beaten, even after everything went wrong, he never hesitated, never questioned, never stopped. To Ji-hoon, defending a client meant giving everything. Your time, your energy, your safety, your life if necessary. That was why Mu-jang had remained by his side ever since. The story left Ma-ri deep in thought. Was she giving everything? Or was she just going through the motions? Later, she confronted her grandfather and asked why he had specifically sent her to Ji-hoon's office. Her grandfather smiled. He explained that Ji-hoon was unlike any lawyer he had ever met. He thought differently. He saw things differently. He approached problems from angles no one else could imagine. If most lawyers saw the answer to 1 + 1 = 2, Ji-hoon might see countless other possibilities. That unique way of thinking was precisely what Ma-ri lacked. Her grandfather wanted her to learn not only the law, but how to understand people and situations from every angle. How to fight for justice in ways that went beyond the courtroom. How to change lives, not just win cases. Meanwhile, a new client arrived. His name was Tae-gon. He worked as a personal driver and had suffered constant abuse from his employer. His boss regularly humiliated him, used him as an emotional punching bag whenever things went wrong at work, treated him like dirt. Ma-ri immediately suggested legal action, but Ji-hoon quickly realized something important. Tae-gon did not want revenge. He didn't want to sue. He wanted peace. He wanted the harassment to stop. He wanted to keep his job. And according to Ji-hoon, finding that balance was exactly the kind of problem they specialized in solving. Not just winning, but improving lives. As Ma-ri examined Taegon's case, she quickly discovered something shocking. The abusive employer Taegon had been talking about was none other than Young Bae, the very same man who had harassed security guard Mr. Kim. This time, however, Ji-hoon intended to handle the case personally. Ji-hoon explained the situation to Ma-ri. If Taegon sued his boss through ordinary legal channels, the punishment would likely be minor. Young Bae might receive a fine or probation, but nothing that would truly change his behavior. Worse still, Taegon would probably lose his job afterward. That was why Ji-hoon focused on something different. He wanted a solution that protected Taegon's livelihood, while also stopping the harassment forever. It was not enough to win in court. A lawyer's duty was to improve a client's life, not just for today, but for tomorrow, and the day after that. Later, Ma-ri met with prosecutor Yi-jin and discussed the situation. Yi-jin laughed as she recalled Ji-hoon's days as a prosecutor. Even back then, he constantly caused trouble while somehow achieving extraordinary results. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon visited prison once again to play bingo with Mr. Mo. After another victory, he gave Mr. Mo simple advice. If he truly wanted a second chance after leaving prison, he should live honestly, help others, make amends for the harm he caused, become a better person. At first glance, Ji-hoon looked like a carefree eccentric, a clown, a joke. But beneath all the jokes and strange habits was a man who genuinely believed people deserved a chance to change. Everyone deserved redemption, even the worst criminals, even the most broken people. Young Bae was preparing for an important day. His boss, Mr. Mo, was expected to be released from prison soon. Young Bae believed that once his boss returned, he would finally be able to deal with Ji-hoon once and for all. However, the moment Young Bae stepped outside his apartment building, he was met with an unexpected sight. Reporters surrounded him from every direction. Flashes from cameras lit up the area. Journalists eagerly asked questions. Confused and alarmed, Young Bae immediately suspected that Mr. Kim had exposed him to the media. But Mr. Kim denied everything. Then Young Bae saw the news broadcast on television. To his surprise, Moo Jang had publicly described him as a kind and generous person, a pillar of the community, someone who had forgiven others despite the damage to his car. It was all part of Ma-ri's plan. Instead of sending Young Bae to court or prison, she chose a different approach. She wanted to create a new public image for him. By making everyone believe Young Bae was a good person, she hoped he would feel pressured to actually become one. Surprisingly, the plan worked. Young Bae enjoyed the positive attention. For the first time, he experienced what it felt like to be admired, to be respected. He even briefly considered becoming a genuinely better person. But changing one's nature overnight was easier said than done. Then came the final confrontation. Young Bae rushed to the courthouse. When he arrived, the trial had already ended. He immediately bowed before Mr. Mo's car in apology. Then the car door opened. To his shock, Chun Ji-hoon stepped out. The man inside the car was none other than Mr. Mo, the same corporate chairman Ji-hoon used to defeat in bingo games. Years ago, Ji-hoon had sent Mr. Mo to prison because he was responsible for a deadly workplace accident. Now Ji-hoon had become his defense lawyer. And once again Ji-hoon had won. Thanks to Ji-hoon's brilliant defense, Mr. Mo's sentence had been reduced dramatically. He was given the opportunity to spend the rest of his life helping others, making amends, becoming the person he should have been all along. Inside the car, Young Bae struggled to suppress his anger while Ji-hoon casually teased him throughout the ride. Eventually, they arrived at the company office. There Mr. Mo noticed a large group of employees waiting in the lobby. Before anyone could ask questions, Ji-hoon stepped forward. He introduced himself as the lawyer representing those employees. All of them, the entire workforce. Young Bae immediately realized what was happening. He had walked straight into Ji-hoon's trap. Ji-hoon demanded three things: a sincere apology to every employee he had mistreated, fair compensation for all the harm he had caused, and a promise to stop harassing workers in the future. However, instead of resolving the issue through court, Ji-hoon proposed something unexpected: a bingo match. If Ji-hoon lost, he would let Young Bae go. But if he won, Mr. Mo would grant every single demand. Plus, Young Bae would be fired from his position immediately. Mr. Mo accepted immediately. To him, gambling on bingo seemed far safer than facing Ji-hoon in court. Ma-ri was horrified. She could not believe Ji-hoon was risking everything on a game. Ji-hoon calmly explained his reasoning. A lawsuit could take months. During that time, employees would continue suffering under Young Bae's leadership. Winning quickly was more important than winning perfectly. The bingo match finally began. Mr. Mo selected Young Bae to announce numbers for his side. Ji-hoon surprised everyone by choosing Ma-ri for his team. Ma-ri froze. She knew almost nothing about bingo. Yet Ji-hoon simply smiled. As always, he seemed to have a plan that nobody else could see. As the game progressed, Young Bae's team quickly gained an advantage. They were dominating, crushing. The employees watching nearby grew increasingly anxious. It seemed only a matter of time before Young Bae secured victory. But Ji-hoon remained calm. As always, he had already thought several steps ahead. Instead of focusing directly on the game, he suddenly began giving Young Bae advice about workplace harassment. At first glance, his words sounded completely unrelated to bingo. But Ma-ri soon realized something. Ji-hoon was secretly giving her clues. The topic he mentioned was regulated under labor law. Specifically, Article 76, Paragraph 2. The number she needed was clear. 2. Ma-ri immediately called out the number. Young Bae's winning path was suddenly blocked. The game continued. Soon afterward, Mr. Mo announced the number 6. Again, Young Bae moved dangerously close to victory. Without missing a beat, Ji-hoon began talking about employee dismissal and labor rights. Ma-ri listened carefully. This time, the clue pointed toward Article 23 of labor law. She understood instantly. The number she needed was 23. Once again, Young Bae's winning path was blocked. Tension filled the room. Then came number 15. Young Bae was on the verge of winning. At that critical moment, Ji-hoon spoke about legal ethics and professionalism. His words triggered a memory. Ma-ri suddenly remembered something from earlier. Page 108. The same page he had told her to read during Lee's case. The answer clicked instantly. Thanks to that clue, Ji-hoon's team completed their line first. They won. The employees erupted in celebration. Young Bae's defeat was finally sealed. The case had been resolved without dragging innocent workers through months of legal battles. Once again, Ji-hoon had found an unconventional solution that protected the people who needed help most. That evening, the team gathered to celebrate. For the first time in a long while, Ma-ri relaxed and drank with everyone. Unfortunately, she drank far too much. The next morning, Ma-ri woke up in confusion. She found herself sleeping inside the office. On the couch, under a blanket, fragments of last night slowly returned to her memory. Ji-hoon had been the one taking care of her while she was drunk. He had made sure she was safe. He had stayed with her all night. Embarrassment immediately flooded her mind. Her embarrassment deepened when she saw Ji-hoon sleeping on the floor nearby, using newspapers as a blanket. He had given her the comfortable spot. He had taken the hard floor, all to make sure she was okay. Part 5, The Murder Case. Not long afterward, a young woman named Soo-yoon arrived at the office. She came seeking legal help desperately. Her eyes were red. Her voice was shaking. Something terrible had happened. The moment she mentioned that the case involved murder, Ji-hoon and Moo-jang immediately grew nervous. Despite their confidence in court, both of them were secretly terrified of murder cases. They had never handled one before. But Soo-yoon desperately begged for their help. Her brother had specifically requested Ji-hoon. He believed that Ji-hoon would understand him. He believed that Ji-hoon would fight for him when no one else would. Even from prison, even accused of the worst crime imaginable, he believed in Ji-hoon. Curious, Ji-hoon and his team reviewed the case file. As they read through it, their expressions changed dramatically. This was no ordinary case. It was one of the most famous murder cases in the entire country. 2 weeks earlier, a shocking tragedy had shaken the nation. A housekeeper named Jae-suk arrived at her employer's mansion early in the morning, just as she always did. As she entered the kitchen, something immediately caught her attention. One of the kitchen knives was missing. Then the lights went out. Total darkness. Something was terribly wrong. Sensing danger, Jae-suk moved through the dark house to investigate. What she discovered left her horrified beyond words. Lying on the floor was her employer, covered in blood. A severe stab wound to the chest. She was barely breathing. She was dying. The police arrived quickly and launched an investigation. At the scene, they arrested the victim's son, Min-jae. The evidence against him seemed overwhelming, circumstantial, damning, undeniable. Meanwhile, Min-jae's father had disappeared without a trace. No one knew where he was. Authorities believed Min-jae had murdered both of his parents. First his father, whose body he had disposed of somewhere in the mountains. Then his mother, in a fit of rage or desperation. A double murder. A family destroyed. After learning the details, Moo-jang and Ma-ri immediately rejected the case. To them, the evidence seemed overwhelming. Many other lawyers had also refused to represent Min-jae, including some of the most prestigious law firms in the entire country. Even Ma-ri's grandfather's law firm had declined the case. They looked at the evidence and said no. Ma-ri was surprised to learn this. Her grandfather's firm never turned away clients. They fought for everyone. Why this case? Why Min-jae? Then Ji-hoon remembered something important from years ago. When he and Moo-jang were unable to pay rent, they had been forced by their landlady to repaint the office walls. Instead of painting properly, Ji-hoon had drawn a terrible portrait of himself. The result was horrible. Fortunately, Min-jae had happened to pass by and offered to help. His artistic skills were remarkable. In just a few hours he transformed the ugly portrait into a beautiful mural. The landlady was so pleased that she forgave 1 month of rent. Back then Ji-hoon and Moo-jang had promised to help Min-jae someday if he ever needed it. A debt of gratitude. Promise made in kindness. Ji-hoon responded with a simple question that caught everyone off guard. Why would someone as wealthy as Min-jae choose a lawyer who charged only 1,000 won when he could easily hire the best law firms in the country? Before anyone could answer, Ji-hoon had already decided to visit Min-jae in prison himself. Meanwhile, Min-hyuk had returned to the prosecutor's office. On his very first day back, he was assigned the same murder case, the most famous case in the country. Initially he hesitated. The case was highly publicized. The pressure was enormous. But then another thought crossed his mind. Winning such a famous case would bring attention, reputation, career advancement, power. The opportunity was too tempting to ignore. Ji-hoon and Ma-ri met Min-jae in detention. The first thing they noticed was something strange. Min-jae did not seem sad. He showed almost no emotion over his mother's death or his father's disappearance. His calmness made everyone uncomfortable. When asked about his father, Min-jae revealed his own theory. He believed his father had killed his mother and then disappeared. He believed his father was the murderer, not him. According to him, his parents had fought constantly. Violence, arguments, years of tension. As for the night of the murder, Min-jae claimed that he had been upstairs taking a bath. He heard nothing. He knew nothing. Ma-ri then asked whether he often argued with his parents. Instead of answering her question, Min-jae criticized her approach. He said she behaved more like a prosecutor than a lawyer. She was trying to find evidence of guilt, not truth. That was exactly why he had refused lawyers from prestigious firms. He wanted someone who would search for the truth, no matter where it led. Min-jae explained why he had chosen Ji-hoon. He did not want people believing that wealth and influence could buy freedom. He wanted fairness, justice, truth. After leaving the prison, Ma-ri became worried. Not about Min-jae. About Ji-hoon. She feared that he might actually accept this impossible case. Her anxiety grew even stronger when Ji-hoon headed toward her grandfather's law firm to investigate why they had refused to defend Min-jae. Without realizing it, Ma-ri had begun worrying about him more than she expected. More than she wanted to admit. Ji-hoon and Ma-ri soon arrived at the prestigious law firm owned by Ma-ri's grandfather, one of the most powerful and influential in the country. Their purpose was simple. They wanted to know why such an influential firm had refused to defend Min-jae when everyone assumed he was guilty. Young-jun greeted them with little enthusiasm. To him, Ji-hoon's sudden appearance and blunt questions were rude as always. Still, because Ma-ri was present, he explained their reasoning. The firm believed that Min-jae's father was already dead. And if that assumption was true, then Min-jae was almost certainly the murderer. Ji-hoon disagreed immediately. He insisted that Min-jae's father was still alive. He had seen something, knew something, was hiding something. As Min-jae's lawyer, Ji-hoon argued that they had to consider every possibility that could prove their client's innocence. They couldn't just accept the easy answer. They couldn't just assume guilt. Elsewhere, Young-jun met with his son Min-hyuk. He encouraged him to take over the murder case. If Min-hyuk successfully prosecuted such a famous case, it would significantly boost his reputation, his career, his future. More importantly, Young-jun believed that winning would be easy. After all, Ji-hoon was only a small-town lawyer charging 1,000 won. He was a joke. The moment Min-hyuk heard that Ji-hoon would be involved, his motivation changed completely. This was no longer about career advancement. It had become personal. He wanted to prove his superiority in front of Ma-ri. He wanted to show everyone that he was the better lawyer. That Ji-hoon was nothing. His jealousy drove him forward. Back at the office, Moo-jang was frustrated that Ji-hoon had officially accepted the murder case. The most difficult case of their lives. A case everyone said was unwinnable. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon remained unusually optimistic. He even compared himself to a detective solving a mystery. Someone who could find clues where others saw nothing. Someone who could see the truth when everyone else was blind. His confidence seemed endless. even when facing a case that everyone else considered impossible. Determined to understand the case better, Ma-ri began organizing everything they knew. According to her investigation, the incident started on May 1st during the birthday celebration of Chun Ji-hoon, a famous artist turning 58 years old. One of the most celebrated painters in the country. A national treasure. Present that evening were 7 people. The guest of honor, Chun Ji-hoon himself. His wife Hae-ju, who managed an art gallery. Their daughter Soo-yeon, who worked at that same gallery. A reporter named Jae-yu. A gallery curator named Seo-won. The housekeeper Ji-suk. And the son Min-jae. During dinner, Min-jae reportedly appeared upset. According to Jae-suk, he often argued with his parents because they wanted him to study abroad. Eventually, Min-jae left the party and spent time drinking with friends before returning home around 12:50 a.m. About 15 minutes later, Jae-suk witnessed Min-jae being slapped by his mother. His own mother. In front of everyone. Chun Ji-hoon was present during the argument. But rather than intervening, he simply continued painting as though nothing had happened. According to the prosecution's timeline, Min-jae killed his father sometime between 2 o'clock and 3 a.m. Investigators believed he disposed of the body in the mountains somewhere. CCTV footage showed Min-jae leaving home at 3:10 a.m. and driving toward a mountain road through a tunnel. Min-jae admitted driving to the mountains. However, he claimed he had only gone there to clear his mind after the terrible argument with his parents. He had fallen asleep inside his car. That's all. Ma-ri remained skeptical. There was no camera inside the vehicle, making it impossible to verify his story. Yet, Ji-hoon refused to accept that explanation. He insisted on one thing above all else. Chun Ji-hoon was still alive. It was impossible, everyone said. The man was dead. His body was in the mountains. Case closed. But Ji-hoon wouldn't listen. He wouldn't give up. As defense attorneys, they had to believe in the possibility that supported their client. Only then could they uncover the truth. The mystery surrounding the missing artist had only grown deeper. And for Ji-hoon, the real investigation was just beginning. Ma-ri continued presenting the timeline of the murder case. According to the investigation, housekeeper Jae-suk left the mansion around 4 a.m. to buy groceries. Before leaving, she claimed that everything inside the house had been normal. No signs of violence. No signs of panic. Nothing unusual at all. At around 5 a.m. Min-jae returned home. The prosecution believed that shortly after his return, his mother became worried when she realized Chun Ji-hoon had disappeared. According to investigators, this was the moment events turned deadly. They believed Min-jae murdered his mother sometime between 5:10 and 5:30 a.m. just before Soo-yeon left the house. The timeline seemed to fit perfectly. Too perfectly. Like it had been designed that way. However, Min-jae told a different story. He insisted that after returning home, he only stopped by the kitchen for a glass of water before going upstairs to his room. Completely innocent. Completely unaware. Ji-hoon immediately noticed something strange about this timeline. If Min-jae had